Hey, White Sox fans, guess what? It's a Southside Sox Mothership podcast. I'm your host, Brett Ballantini. I've hosted 82 of these until now. Now it's 83. Welcome. It's good to have you with us. We're talking White Sox, even though we'd be on the verge of actually covering real White Sox baseball in the alternate universe where everything is super cool. But we here at the Mothership Podcast have taken the form, the Wonder Twin quadruplets have taken the form, not of a box of snack cakes or an ice bridge, but a bucket of cold water that we're gonna dump on your hopes for a normal baseball season, because it just ain't gonna happen. We need a James Fox on this podcast to tell us, oh, follow the money. They're gonna play a ton of games. No James Fox, so you're gonna get the bucket of cold water. But that's in the second half of this podcast. First half, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Southside Sox, White Sox Hall of Fame. The robust vote is underway. You have until Sunday to vote. If you don't, you really might get your Southside Sox membership card revoked. I gotta tell you, we might be checking wallets. But we have got a good turnout so far. And in fact, a number of players are on track in this new world of just vote for as many players as you want. We're on track to have a number of players enter the Southside Sox White Sox Hall of Fame. And so let me ask first to my three guests here, as always, the Indianapolis Field Office represents with Chrystal and Super Joseph Resis, and Adrian Serrano, graphic man, writer man, music man, voter man, is joining us as well. If you're watching, hey, check us out. If you're not, just trust. Their voices will pop up soon. What I want to know first, all three of you, is roughly how many players did you vote for? Did you adhere to a 10 rule? Did you go over 10? How'd you go about it?
I think I went 11. I really just voted 10 minutes ago. I'm not going to lie to you. And I think it was about 11.
You get to keep your card, at least. You do get to keep your card.
I was like, oh, crap. We got to record. I need to vote. I'm a mess.
Brutal honesty out of Indy. Super Joseph, what'd you do?
Yeah, I didn't keep a count, but I know that it was about 10 that I voted for. I wasn't trying to hit a specific number. Pretty much, did a brief review of all the players on there and made my decisions pretty much one by one, and picked about 10 of them.
Some self-policing going on here. Okay, Adrian, did you vote like a true Chicagoan?
I think I said it on the last pod, but I think I settled on 11. 11 yeses, 10 nos. And yeah, it was a tough list, but that was kind of even with, like, I could have went more yeses, but I was being kind of strict on, like, if they really were White Sox Hall of Famers to me.
Well, though I am far from Chicago, I did vote like a true Chicagoan. I might have voted for everybody. I voted for more than 10. I definitely voted for more than 10 because I knew there was going to be some people saying, oh, Chris Sale's still playing. I can't vote for him. Or that guy's on the Black Sox. I can't vote for him. Or I don't know who that is. And I can't read a bio, so I'm not going to vote for him. I'm offsetting those folks. And obviously all these guys are worthy. It's just a made up Hall of Fame. We're making it up.
It's not real.
We can get some people in. Oh no, actually, we're once that funding comes through from SB Nation, we are going to build the building, Chrystal. Don't worry. But we're just waiting on our funding. Let's do a quick rundown of where some players are at. We have a couple locks, unless there's a huge weekend vote that's going to come galloping in. We do have some locks, including Wilbur Wood, who seems to be the slam dunk of this election, currently at 94%. That's up from 68 last vote. A lot of Wilbur Wood love coming out of the electorate. Hey, he's deserving. Not going to nitpick that one for sure. Red Faber at 85% seems pretty solid. 85%'s not a lock, but looks like finally a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, the real Hall of Fame, is going to be in the White Sox Hall of Fame. We got some guys on the cusp. Jose Abreu in his first year. There are a lot of people out there saying, he's still playing. I can't put him in a Hall of Fame. Currently at 80%. In his first year on the ballot. Looks like Hoyt Wilhelm, 79%, up from 60%. So he's right on the cusp there. I mean, we're talking at this point, 5-10 votes either way. could take him, push him in as a guarantee or out. Robin Ventura with just a little bump, like one more person voted for Robin this time around than last. He's up from 74%, just missed, pulled the old Nellie Fox, just missed last year, and now is at 78. Too many people still remembering him as manager and saying, I'm not sure that he should be in the White Sox Hall of Fame yet. It's too soon. It's too, the wounds are still too fresh. Some others who are on the cusp who could actually still push in. Jack Mcdowell. I'm not really sure what to make of Jack Mcdowell at 70%, but he has almost doubled his vote from last time around at 70%. Chris Sale, though still playing and no longer a White Sox, at 66%. Ray Schalk, White Sox Hall of Famer, still struggling to get the respect from the electorate at 69%. So in theory, there could be 8 players elected. And if so, I'll probably have to tone down the vote for everybody rule. But as of right now, 4, 5 players on track. Not a bad class. Any surprises in what you see in the trends? Obviously, Chrystal, you've just been in the voting booth, so you're like, man, this is fresh. But surprises, positive or negative, in terms of what we're seeing in, I guess, the early band of results?
I was happy to see Chet is up a little bit. His numbers actually weren't bad at all. I was really surprised to see how high Jack Mcdowell was. And I was kind of surprised about Chris Sale. I said last time, I'm voting for Chris Sale. I don't care. But I was pleased to see where he was sitting too, that he could potentially make it. I had no surprise with Jose Abreu. I figured his numbers would be super high, no matter what.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised. Maybe he's not even higher, but I guess that's the group that says, hey, let the guy retire and we'll vote him in. But we don't play by rules at Southside Sox. We haven't even built the building yet. So there aren't really any rules yet. We don't have walls or foundation yet. So Adrian, Joe, what do you think?
Jack Mcdowell, a bit surprising, but it's just there's just a name that people know. Like, not even sure if he's the best of the the staff at that time. There's maybe some other guys that I might go before him, but we talked about Wilbur Wood. Like, Wilbur Wood absolutely deserves to be in. 20 years on the same team, you should automatically get in regardless of your statistics. But wouldn't have expected him to be the runaway leader in yes votes. I was expecting like a Chris Sale or a Jose Abreu to be like 90% plus. But a lot of older people, I think, are really taking the hard line on Jose Abreu. Not retired, no Hall of Fame. Chris Sale also. I think surprising the support for somebody that's no longer on the team. I think people still look at him fondly, but I'm surprised that people are so eager to support him still.
It's worth mentioning before I let Joe jump in that Wilbur Wood currently at 94%. That might be the highest total we've ever had. I mean, Frank Thomas was in on a first year. I don't know that he even got, I'd have to check. This is clearly would be one of the highest percentages somebody's elected on, especially, I mean, if it was Robin Ventura, maybe I might understand. Wilbur Wood, 68%, on the cusp, I guess, last election last year, but now has shot up to 94. We're going to have to find out from the voters exactly what moved them from 2021 to 2022 in favor of Wilbur Wood. Knuckleball fever, man. Is it knuckleball fever, Joe?
Yes, that's a good point about Mcdowell being kind of a familiar name, with him being among the more recent side of players on this ballot. So maybe that played a role into the amount of support that he's gotten. One very pleasant surprise I had was the enormous jump that Red Faber made, 53% last year to 85% this year, which is phenomenal and very much deserved. And you touched on it in the piece, right before his poll, but yeah, if he was fully healthy for the 1919 World Series, that very well may have played out differently. 1919 was a bit of an uncharacteristically off year for Faber on the mound in terms of his stats, but I'd be willing to bet even still that he would not have put up, just a complete clunker like, Cicotte in game 1 or Williams in game 8. He would have gone out there and put out, decent performances, and Yeah, that's one of the biggest what ifs in history, but outstanding career entirely with the White Sox. And yeah, like you said, in the real Hall of Fame, I feel very strongly that he should be in this as well.
Not that we're all still traumatized by the events of 100 years ago, but it would just be a little bit easier to feel good about being a White Sox fan if there wasn't a thing called the Black Sox that they make Hollywood movies about, and guys who should have been in the Hall of Fame, at least two, Scott and Shoeless Joe, of course, at least two denied because of their participation. So yeah, that's a what if that did not fall in our favor. George Davis is in the Hall of Fame, and I understand George Davis played 120 years ago, but he was a really good player. He's still polling just at 42%. He is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
So
the other one is not in the Hall of Fame, but I think that Sherm Lawler deserves more credit for what he did on those teams, like as the catcher, like his whole career, just like completely behind Yogi Berra, just like in everything, like just completely forgotten because he was on the Yankees with Yogi Berra for a second there, and like just could never overpass him. But just like everything he did was great. He won those, first I think two or three Gold Gloves when they came in, and that was for the whole league at the time, National and American League. Like amazing defensive catcher, great leader, and led that staff that was very good at the time. But not a lot of name recognition, I don't think, in Sox fandom.
Go Sox fatigue. It seems like everyone else who was really a huge part of that, though he was not a runner, of course, but I mean, certainly the core guys, pitching staff and hitters from that team are in the Hall of Fame. So maybe it's just like, it's just one too many, Adrian. Yes, it seems like Sherm Lawler is making the slow trudge toward immortality. So maybe by the time the building has at least begun, at least maybe we have the cornerstone for it, he will be elected. But I think he is probably on his way. On the flip side, and maybe this is a benefit of being able to vote for more than 10, although just based on the poll here, that maybe isn't a factor at all. Maybe most people would say, maybe I maxed out at 10. Maybe it's just a reflex action. But we do not have the small totals. There's been years where players have been completely shut out. But the rule has changed from getting no votes kicks you off the ballot. You don't have to make any 5% thing. We try to stay away from the BBWAA as much as possible. So we're not going with that rule, but we are going with the rule that says whoever trails the vote, the least amount of votes will drop off the ballot. Right now, there is quite a fight on the flip side for that. Joe Horland at 31%. Lance Johnson at 29% right now would fall off the ballot based on the fact that the only other competition there's Johnny Mostel at 30%. So those are pretty high totals, but somebody's going to drop off. And if a couple of the guys end up tying, they're both going to drop off just to sort of keep the ballot fresh. We don't have a ton of new names, ton of hot names like Jose Abreu this year to throw onto the ballot. So, this keeps it, I guess, fresh and open. But among those three, I mean, really our name recognition as fans under the age of 70. Yes, believe it or not, I'm not yet 70. Really, there's just one dog is the only guy we're really going to even recognize. Johnny Mostel's a guy who was very, very troubled, extremely talented, was very troubled and had his career cut short in part because of that, although he ended up devoting his life to the White Sox. He was a scout, a coach with the White Sox. And Joe Horland, incredible gifted arm, just like Gary Peters, Tommy John, who was great 60s staff. So really, it's a shame that there may have to be a loser here, but one of those guys is going to fall off. Did any of you vote for any of those guys to make a case for them?
I was very close to just like getting another fanboy homer pick for Lance Johnson, but I couldn't make a case for it. Like I was going to try to make this tangential leap of like, well, they didn't re-sign Lance Johnson so that Mike Cameron could have more playing time. And then Mike Cameron eventually got spun into Konerko, which, you struggle. You could make that argument all day because technically Cameron's by far the best player out of those three, career-wise. But without Konerko, like that's a much different looking team for quite a few years for the White Sox and, World Series championship with him being the captain.
I'm going to make you carve or at least write the plaque when Lance Johnson makes, because I need that strange little connection being made, Adrian. So basically saying, hey, we don't have PK hitting a grand slam in the World Series unless there's a one dog. And he was a pretty darn good player. He hit a lot of triples. Nothing more fun than watching a triple in baseball. Okay, we have some Some of the bonus categories, there are some that are runaways. There are some that are surprisingly tight. So I guess I'm going to just survey and see where you guys voted on each of these. The gimmick and promotion category, which has been a popular one. I think we've had that voted on more times than any. It seems like a dogfight between the center field shower from the 70s and names on the back of the uniform from 1960. Strong passions for either one of those?
I voted for the shower.
It's pretty cool. The fact that they still have it at the park is sort of cool.
Yeah, that was my basis, was that it was still there. It's like, oh, it seems good enough.
I went for Dog Day. Seems very popular.
Yeah. Yeah. And something the Sox really put, I mean, I'm sure they didn't invent it. I assume someone did it before them, but I mean, they really pushed it, and it's been I mean, I remember when they had Dog Day like in August, and that was fun for the dogs. So, at least they're continuing to evolve it, and that's good. And sooner or later, Adrian, I think Dog Day is going to be in the White Sox Hall of Fame. Come on. First of all, there's only so many mixed promotions. So let's see. 2005 moment is ridiculous. It's like cutthroat. I think the only thing that's not getting votes is the one that I inserted that didn't have to do with the playoffs. So that tells me how exciting 2005 regular season compared to postseason stacks up. But really, I think Scotty Pods and his home run is leading, but it's just like by a vote or two. Strong feelings there, or did everybody here vote for Scotty? I might have just thrown the Joe Creedy regular season just because I came up with it and I knew nobody vote for it. So I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion. But where did you all vote for 2005?
I voted Scotty Pods.
I voted for Konerko, but really both of those options are totally okay. I mean, game 2 of the 2005 World Series is still my favorite sports game of and of all time. It doesn't, not just baseball, but for all sports, just given how exciting that game was and the importance of it. All the back and forths and that crazy 9th inning. Gave the slight edge to Konerko because it did swing the win probability a little bit more than the Podsednik homer, because it brought the White Sox essentially from a pretty losing situation in that game to a winning situation, up from 28% to 86%, which was a little bit of a bigger swing than the Podsednik one, which they were at that point, they were already in a slightly winning position before he hit it, when it was a tie game in the bottom of the 9th. But really both of those are amazing options. And I can't really tell the story of the 2005 White Sox without both of those home runs.
Bad boy Sox math, Joe Resis, ignoring the fact that Scott Podsednik's home run gave the White Sox 100% win probability, but it's okay. I accept that answer. It's on the ballot. Adrian, you're the tiebreaker.
I think I'm on record saying that the Scotty Pods homer is my favorite personal moment from the 2005 run, but my vote went towards El Duque's escape in Boston, which was maybe the most pivotal moment of that playoff run, because they didn't really have a lot of trouble after that. But, that was a very dangerous Boston team. And if they lose that game there, it's a completely different short series. And, maybe they don't even get out of that round.
To be fair, both home runs have permanently discolored the seats to blue in the White Sox outfield. So in the White Sox eyes, they are equal. The contributor category is sort of rough when you've got guys like Charles Comiskey and Jerry Reinsdorf on the list. It's a neck and neck battle between Hawk Harrelson and Minnie Mignoso, two very different people, but two guys who contributed a whole lot to the White Sox. I probably voted Minnie. I don't remember, but how'd everybody else go?
I voted Minnie as well. I just adore him, and in my time of writing and researching him, I couldn't not vote Minnie. Ugh, I can't talk today. Minnie.
I really didn't like having to choose between those two. I mean, I'm an enormous fan of both of them. I gave my votes to Hawk just because Minnie's in as a player already. Yeah, he certainly had my vote as a player. But yeah, those two people were certainly like my two front runners in this poll by miles. But yes,
we will know who will win the next time this category comes out because it's whoever didn't win this time, unless we get a whole
Right.
lot of really great contributors coming in. Rickon, you have hope. Adrian, where'd you vote there?
I voted for Minnie because he got jerked around by the BBW. He deserves to go in right away here. Hawk will get in eventually. I'm not worried about it.
He was reelected in like
Charlie
5 different
Comiskey should
categories.
probably be in the Hall of Fame also, but it's hard to get anybody right now during a lockout to vote for owners. So
Uniform's the other one that's just neck and neck and neck. There are 3 necks in this one. The 1983s that are, I have to say, a bit overdone as the permanent Sunday uniform, and that is my sweet spot as a fan. 1917, all the stigma attached, and 1959 Go-Go Sox. Pretty much a tie at this point. Where'd everybody vote there? I think I went 1917 because I'm almost 70.
I voted 83 so that we can retire them and just put them away for,
Rethinking.
bring them out. Yeah, bring them back out in 30 years and we could see them again. But like, I think we've seen enough of them for now.
Trying to remember what I voted for.
Word on the street, Chrystal, is it was just moments ago.
I'm looking. Oh, it was the 59 classic pinstripes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what it did.
Certainly, sort of made the way for the classic look that Adrian's grappling with right now in a whole nother podcast. Because it's just really derivative of that look. And boy, after a lot of time out there, just wandering in the wilderness, coming back to something that was sort of a classic pinstripe look was probably a really smart move to go along with the new park. And it's lasted a really, really long time. Joe, what was your favorite among those 3? I assume it's one of those 3.
I went with the 59 pinstripes, and yes, I just like the design. Not that I would be that credible of a source for that sort of thing, but yes, there's that. There's the fact that there's a lot of positive memories associated with that team in terms of what they accomplished. Certainly one of the most noteworthy and successful teams in White Sox history. And this would have been my vote regardless. But I will say that having it be the 1970s Field of Dreams pinstripes as it was put on the poll, it did at least it was at least maybe a very, very slight hindrance to voting for that to have Field of Dreams on it, because I knew that I would be talking about this on the podcast, probably with Chrystal, and I didn't want to have to justify voting for that with her on the podcast.
You guys made me out to be so mean.
It's
totally a fine opinion. I assume the movie's not very good. I still haven't seen it, but yes, that
the next podcast is about Field of Dreams, the movie, and
did you not
Zach
see the
Collins.
movie? Well, man, we got a schism in the field office. Wow. Watch out at the water cooler. Man.
Episode 84 is just Chrystal giving her opinions and hot takes on what's terrible in the White Sox realm.
I think you have some extra delicious pastries waiting for you in the break room at the field office after that answer there, Joe. I think we can agree, though, come Sunday, my goodness, on the Sunday games, I really thought this was unnatural. It's marketing. You sell more jerseys. For a while there before they settled on this Sunday uniform thing, which I guess has been a trend around Major League Baseball. The White Sox were rotating in a lot of interesting jerseys, among them the 83s. I believe they had like the 06s. Those were crazy. They've had a variety of jerseys, and I don't know why they don't take advantage of the fact that their White Sox have 120 years of history. There's always going to be some kind of anniversary year of something, decent, if not great, something pretty decent. It's really shocking to me that they have just settled on this idea that it's like, well, the 83s are sort of like our 1A uniforms. I can't imagine the players just go bonkers for them either. I know Chris Sales had some real opinions about throwbacks. I guess you can't be just too nuts about just throwing anything out there like softball uniforms, but geez, you'd think they just mix it up a little bit more on Sundays, and I don't know what it'd be for 2022, but there's got to be something that resonates more than what happened in 1982 to justify wearing those again every single Sunday. I hope that's something the White Sox.
I've got a hot take.
Please.
We're going to bring back the vests for Sunday games.
Why not?
That'd be cute.
Why not? Those are pretty cool. Why not?
I'd like to see like the the 93, 94 black jerseys with like the big numbers. Like they are not they're very 90s, but like just like I like it cycling through a bunch of there's just a bunch of very interesting as I have been exploring. There's a bunch of very interesting logo and uniforms in the history of this team to not just like settle on this 1983 thing and just ride it into the ground.
Hey, White Sox fans, you thought you might have a commercial-free episode. You don't. SB Nation demands to sell you some things. They're going to sell them to you right now. We'll be back in a minute. Hey, White Sox fans, welcome back to the second half, a very truncated second half, because we had so much fun talking about the White Sox Hall of Fame and everything we're getting right and wrong about the vote, that we're not going to be able to devote a full half of the show to the lockout. And really, who wants to do that? What's new? So the owners have made one offer to players in 70 days. We believe that later today, Thursday, the ownership, Rob Manfred, will announce that there's going to be some delay or whatever. They're breaking spring training. It's fully anticipated. Certainly more likely than we've come to an agreement. Thoughts on how this stuff is proceeding with the CBA that isn't?
Not
I have
well.
a feeling. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just said not well. Not well.
Yes, I had a feeling that at the beginning of the offseason it would be a messy one, and it would take a while to get an agreement sorted out, especially after how dramatic just working out the details of the 2020 season was, and it seemed like there was a lot of drama there when it was relatively easy, I felt, to avoid drama, and totally siding with the players on this debate for what it's worth. But yeah, it just seemed like in general the owners were a little bit on the greedy side there, and I kind of expected more of the same. I did think that by now almost in the middle of February, though, that we would be further along than this. And I think it's probably pretty unlikely that Manfred says something that makes people feel any better. And so more waiting to do, which I didn't really think we would still be this far away from it at this point in the off season, which has been disappointing.
Chrystal, I'm going to give you a leading question. This is 30 years since there's been a lockout. The world has changed in many ways. There was no social media 30 years ago. And one thing that's really impressed me about the players, not that I expected they wouldn't be this way, but the unified message, almost completely unified message they've been giving out on social media. And the fact that guys are not forgetting, the guys who have made their millions do not seem to be forgetting that a big part of this argument are for the little guys, which they all were. At some point, Max Scherzer was a minimum salary guy, and Whit Merrifield was a minimum salary guy. You think these players are going to remain this unified? Are you impressed by sort of the unity of message they put out there so far, just in the early going here, unfortunately?
Yeah, I am really impressed. I like that they've stood up, especially Max. I think what he said alone was just really powerful, and it makes me feel better that they realize that, like you just said, it is the little guys that really, at the end of the day, make them their money. They buy their jerseys, and I think they realize that this is for the fans, and the owners just kind of need to buckle up and get over themselves, which totally, because I side with the players. And I think with this lockout being as long as it has been so far, I think they're going to stay really united as players, because it affects everybody. I mean, obviously the players are making millions, but I mean, it affects them. They want to play. just sitting at home doing nothing. I saw this video of somebody, I can't remember what player it was, but they were pretending like they were trying to go into their like complex and the key fob wasn't working, but like they're pissed and they're bored and they want to play, and I
It's gonna-
can't blame them. So I think they will all kind of
It's going to be like
bond over this and keep it up.
it's going to become like the start of the pandemic when everybody was like locked inside and you have everybody doing like Rube Goldberg, like devices and stuff. You're going to have just like, it's going to be MLB or maybe we'll just have more video game competitions like Ashley Sanders covered for us when Lucas Giolito almost won the MLB, the show, whatever the heck that was. Okay, so then predictions at this point, as we approach mid-February, as we approach spring training, I'd like to know from each of you, when will opening day be? Give me a day.
May 1st.
May 1st.
I'm on record many times now saying that the owners just came into this never wanting to pay for a full season. So I think we'll get a deal done. It'll be a bit of a shorter spring. I'm hoping May 1st as well. But middle of May by the end, I think if there's going to be a season, it's going to be.
Joe.
I'll go April 15th. I'll be slightly more optimistic. They'll find some sort of way. I'll be a little bit in the direction of James Fox, and for at least remove a little bit of the cold water.
Just that just means that Joseph bought a bunch of single game Sox tickets, and he's just hoping for the best.
They're honoring the Soxman Super Champion Hall of Famer on like April 28th. He's got to be there. Come on.
I thought it was so funny. They sent out this email about single game Sox tickets, and they can't even show the players. It's just a bunch of crowd shots. Like, come watch yourself.
Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe I didn't realize it. Maybe I am 70. I am not nearly so optimistic. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a 60 game season. I could see 100 being the high end. I don't know what that works out to be, but I don't even think it's May 1st. I'll say first day of summer. I'll say June 21st right now. I hope I'm wrong.
No, I want birthday baseball.
Yeah, come on.
I'm not going
birthday
for
baseball.
21st. The 19th. Can we speed it up before June 19th so I can have birthday baseball? That
I'm
would be
going to
great.
amend my pick. I'm going to say June 19th is when we have opening day for the Chicago White Sox.
Thank you.
And we'll get roughly half a season, and obviously the owners will still get close to, if not all of their TV money, because they'll get some kind of weird expanded playoffs and 3DHs or whatever comes together. So, and extra concessions, extra expensive concessions. The helmet notches will be even bigger. So they'll make all their money up in a second. Players won't. Players never do. Okay, well, this is our labor talk portion. We'll wind this up. Certainly next podcast, we'll be talking about it again. We don't know when it'll be. It probably will be, we know what it'll be. It'll be Monday, because we'll be announcing the White Sox Hall of Fame. And in case you're tired of us talking about it, well, what else we got to talk about? We're going to talk, maybe we'll talk about the different, maybe I can sick Adrian on this. We can maybe begin designing. Perhaps he can become an architect for a day. We can design the building. We'll talk about, how the building's going to look, how the wings will be, how weird the promotions and gimmicks hallway is going to be, because it's going to be freaky. It's going to freak all of you out. Again, we're just waiting for the SB Nation. If you bought a bunch of the products that you just heard about 10 minutes ago, that's great, because that will help us get our funding for the Southside Sox White Sox Hall of Fame. Hey, if you haven't voted, like Chrystal did, it was easy. Wasn't it easy, Chrystal? It was like nothing.
So easy. And it reminded me that in this hall, if we could just have an interactive Yulmer Gatorade,
Oh my God.
like that's at the very end, it's just him pouring Gatorade on you instead of him. But if we could just have that in the hall.
Yulmer's Gatorade Antics is an entry in the, the oddities, the new oddities category. And so by the time this actually gets built, Yulmer certainly will. If he doesn't win this year, I don't think he's on track to win this year. If he doesn't, he will be in by that time. So we absolutely will have the interactive Yulmer Gatorade, or choose your beverage.
We're going to have the Yulmer Gatorade exhibit. We're going to have the cut your own jersey Chris Sale exhibit. We're going to have the
You're
Drake
speaking
LaRoche,
my language.
the Drake LaRoche leadership camp. Like we're gonna do it up.
You've just reminded me to add Chris Sale cutting jerseys up to the oddities, because it sure is. Oh man, that could be the landslide next year. Okay,
Drake.
well, this wraps up the delightful podcast number 83, the jerseys that we know you're tired of on Sundays. Thank you, Adrian, and of course, the Indianapolis Field Office, Chrystal and Joe. Let's do this again, maybe in a few more days. Thanks for joining me now. Thanks everybody for listening. Without you, we wouldn't be around.